welcome to another episode of The Way I See It. I was listening to an episode of Just Listen to Yourself with Kira Davis, whom I always nickname my new favorite person, or my new best friend. And she was talking about, does systemic racism exist? And this is going to kind of be similar in scope to that, sort of a follow-up, but I'm taking a little bit of a different angle because, number one, she's talked about it for an hour on her podcast. Number two, I don't talk for an hour on my episodes of this show because I just can't think, I don't plan that enough content to do that. You know, I try to keep it to somewhere between 10 and 20 minutes. So anyway, so that's probably where this is going to go. So one of the things that was brought up in a response to that podcast was something that I've heard before in response to the term systemic racism, is that as Christians, we don't need to call it systemic racism because we're already conceding a point to the culture by calling it that. But then her point was that we should call it that to at least get people to understand, you know, that we're having a conversation with the culture. We don't need to try to teach them a whole new lingo. But, okay, I believe that, yes, there is systemic injustice, and racism is one of the parts of the systemic injustice. There's systemic racism, there's systemic classism, there's probably some other systemic issues, which just means that when a system is programmed to produce certain outcomes that are going to affect certain kinds of people in certain ways. And I agree that as a white person, I've just lived in the system and benefited from the system and never questioned the system. But like most people who are white, I don't agree that I am racist just because I've lived in the system and have not ever noticed, not ever really questioned it, and have just benefited from it. You can call me you can call me ignorant. Sure, I'll give you that. And now I'm waking up to the ignorance that I was raised in, and I'm seeing things. But what I'm seeing is that while we have to acknowledge that there are systemic issues that affect people of certain races, certain ways, negatively, the problem is not just with one political party or the other. See, right now, everyone on the left is raising this banner of, we need to break down systemic racism, and the answer is to dismantle whiteness from the culture. And then the people on the right, the conservatives, are like, we don't want to even admit that there's systemic racism because they've already driven the narrative in such a way that if we admit there's systemic racism, then we're saying that yes, we're at fault, or white people are at fault. Republicans specifically need to start coming up with some solutions. They need to say, look, yes, we acknowledge that there are systems that are unfair, that affect certain people in our society unfairly. Here's how we're going to address it. We're not going to address it by saying Black Lives Matter. We're not going to address it by kneeling for the national anthem. We're not going to address it by stopping teaching history and teaching a different history. No. We need to address the actual way that our government and welfare and education and our criminal justice system work that keep people down. We need to address those things. See, here's the thing. Both Republicans and Democrats are to blame for decades of racism that established the systems in place today. For example, redlining. Redlining is predominant in cities, which have been ruled by Democrats for over 50 years. Welfare, which has just dismantled the black family by saying, if you're getting welfare and there's a man in the home, well, you're not going to get the benefits anymore. The education system is so broken. And it's not just a matter of saying, let's just pump more money into the poor schools, because they've been getting money pumped in them for the last few decades, and it's not helping. There's definitely a family element. There's something about helping the community at large. I've worked with folks in the criminal justice system, and I can say this, it is definitely broken. I worked with a woman who I met at the jail I was teaching here locally, Bible study. She got arrested on July 4th of 2018, and I was teaching her that fall, and then she got out, and I kept in touch with her, and I tried to help her on and off. And sometimes I thought, she's going to do it. She's going to make it. She's in a rehab program. She's doing Bible studies. She's getting counseling. She's getting mental health help. She's getting transportation to a job. And then there would be like an argument over someone stealing her deodorant or something. You know, people who are like that, they cannot, it's very difficult for them to have a sense of delayed gratification and set a goal that's out there and just endure to get to it. As soon as some little roadblock comes up, they just turn and go a different way. They never accomplish a goal. But where I saw the criminal justice system was really broken with her, and she's white. I mean, I'm sure it's even harder for if you're black, if you're a man, and you don't, judges are not as sympathetic with men as they are with women usually. But with her, she was living in a residential rehab place right here over in Marietta, great Christian place. She was calling me, she was telling me about all this wonderful stuff, and she had a job and she was saving money. And then about a week or two, she'd been there for a month about. I mean, and at a month you start getting some consistency under your belt. She called me from jail a few weeks later. They had come and arrested her from there because of failure to appear in court for probation. Because they send these notices to like the last known address, and she's not there. So she's not keeping track of when she's supposed to go to court. And you know, failure to appear in court is like a big gotcha in the court system. They'll haul your butt back in. She lost her place in that residential rehab program. She had to start over. She's been in and out of jail again multiple times since then. I was just flabbergasted. I thought judges should make it so that if they send the police out to go find this person who didn't appear in court, and they find this person in a good situation, in a stable situation, in a rehab program, they get credit. They don't get hauled out of there and put back in jail. Are you kidding me? It's like the system is made to make people fail, not to help people succeed. People in the criminal justice system lose everything over and over and over again. Like, she has no bank account, she has no driver's license, she has no car. You have to keep like reapplying for a Social Security. If you get all this stuff and then you can't maintain a place to live, things get stolen from you. It's just constantly, there's just a constant state of upheaval in people's lives who are like that, who are in that system. And there's so many black men who've been ripped out of their families for nonviolent crimes based on that 1993 crime bill that Joe Biden helped write, right? So you got Democrat issues and Republican issues contributing to this systemic racism. People can't just say, oh, it's racist white people, which means, i.e., Republican evangelicals. It's a system that was established by people with racist intentions, but people living in it today, people like me, we're not racist, we're just, like I said, ignorant. So we need to look at how we can address these issues. On the Kira Davis podcast, my new best friend, she talked about her big thing is school choice. And she makes a very compelling case. I'm not going to go into all the details of it right now, other than the tagline is no kid should be tied to their zip code. If they're in a failing district, in a failing school, they should be able to go to a better school. Because really, success in life, so much of success in life comes from networking. And you get good networking when you go to a good school. We definitely need to address issues in the welfare system. We definitely need to address immigration issues. I'm a big fan of the idea of helping immigrants accelerate their path to citizenship. You know, I'm not one of these that's just like, let's kick them all out. Send them all back down to where they came from. No, let's let them be contributing members of society. These are issues that both sides need to come together and work together to solve. No one can point at the other people and say, it's all your fault because you're racist and we need to just kick you out of society. That's not going to solve anything. And as soon as you do that, the people on the receiving end, they just buckle down. They're like turtles. They just go into their shell. They're impervious when you are just berating them. So let's come together. Let's say you're a conservative, you're a progressive. Can you both just say, yeah, you might have some good ideas. Let me hear them. Yeah, I'm not going to prejudge and just assume that you're a racist person and therefore you have nothing of value to say or add to this conversation. Whether you call it systemic racism or just systemic injustice, I like that term. The point is it exists, and we need to come together and accept the fact that blame can be laid across the spectrum, across many different areas of society and culture. Like I said, in welfare, in education, in the criminal justice system, in voting districts. I mean, there's all kinds of ways that the blame can be laid out at everybody's feet. And let's come together and work to find solutions. So that's all I have to say for today. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe and leave me a comment, and I will respond. I respond to comments. I only have 49 subscribers. I just got one more today. I have 49 now. So, you know, my comments on these videos are like one here and there. I will respond if you will leave me a comment. And share this channel with your friends. And I'm getting a little flushed because I was speaking on the fly today and I was nervous about this subject for some reason. Anyway, thank you so much, and I'll see y'all later.